The Central Bank of Nigeria has announced a new policy that mandates commercial banks and other financial institutions to ensure that over-the-counter cash withdrawals by individuals and corporate entities do not exceed 100,000 naira and 500,000 naira respectively per week. Experts have said the new cash withdrawal limits introduced by the Central Bank of Nigeria would expose tax evaders and could impact individual and micro, small and medium enterprises, MSMEs in Nigeria. With restriction placed on cash withdrawals, many people will be forced to carry out transactions using electronic payments, and small businesses that currently operate mostly on cash will become visible to the tax authorities. To help us look at this issue through his lens, we have Olushola Oloyeye. He's a finance and insurance expert. He joins us virtually. Good morning, Dr. Olushola.
Good morning. Yes. How are you? And I'm fine to be on your show this morning.
It's always a pleasure to have you. Now, let's have your thoughts concerning this new policy to start with.
Okay, concerning the new policy, this is another positive move. Even though Nigerians might not, be very, might not take it on a very impressive, note, but actually is a positive move. Now, this move on this policy all started with the Finance Act when, the more involvement of the informal sector, bringing them on board. So with the cash withdrawal limit by CBN is a further enhancement on our cashless policy move, whereby we need to move the economy into where everybody have to do their transaction electronically. And for policies to really work in a country like Nigeria, we need to track almost every transaction. Almost every transaction needs to be online. So once we get most transactions online, it makes it easier for most of the policy to work and for them to achieve whatever objective that has been set.
All right. As we know, in terms of taxation, one key issue has been that Nigeria's tax base is not wide enough. So in terms of taxation, will this policy be able to do what it has set out to do? Hello, Mr.
Okay, thank you very much. That is why I started my conversation from referring to the introduction of the Finance Act, which is one of the major achievements of this new administration. Bringing in the Finance Act actually opens up the economy to be able to bring more people into the tax net, both individuals and corporate organizations. And, if we refer back to the way the Finance Act is designed, companies are further reclassified into organizations with turnover below 25 million, companies with 25 million above up to 100 million, and then organizations that have above 100 million. Now, with this new cash withdrawal limit, which I mentioned earlier, is an enhancement on our cashless policy, will further allow a whole lot of organizations to now transact their business using electronic media, meaning it will go through banks. Now, individuals will also have to get to that point whereby account opening will now be based on tax identification. TIN will be attached to those account of individuals, account of SMEs, account of corporate organization. And so the era of you routing transaction through your personal account and no clear disclosure of what those funds are for, now it becomes something you have to disclose. Okay. And then more of the transaction going on in the Nigerian economy today would now be better captured, and more people will now be within the tax net because it will bring about more accountability, and we can then see the true, picture of how deep the Nigeria economy is.
All right. You started with a very, very interesting notion. You said it was a positive move. The pursuit of the central bank is to promote a cashless policy in accordance, but we look at Nigeria's peculiar case. What are some of the issues that people are failing to see with this, in your own view? That because it was met with so much tirade, people were like, why? But in your view, what are some of the issues that people are not seeing?
Okay, so now the challenge over time with Nigerians when it comes to policy or when it comes to anything that has to do with the economy, there's this one-way view, and it's a culture that we need to really address. Everybody needs to be a bit more interested in more understanding how the economy works and understanding what will drive our economy. It's only a country.
Hello? I think we've lost you. Okay, yes, please continue. Please continue. Dr. Lushola, it was explaining to us that the view that Nigerians have expressed is not the right one, that the policy is a more positive one. Hello, are you with us?
I'm with you.
Yes, please continue on the points you're making.
Okay. Now, our approach over time is that we tend to want to deal with what satisfies us as individual before dealing with how it helps the entire economy as a whole. So we need to start looking beyond just dealing with our individual interests and start looking at overall interest on how this will bring a better economic system for Nigeria and better allow Nigeria to grow. So if this move to you as an individual, you will look at it, oh, I won't be able to do as much as I want to do. However, if all of us collectively now make sure that all our transactions go through the system, it will allow policy and decision making to be more proactive. It will make whenever anything is targeted, it will be able to have real impact, as against where we have an economy where only 30% is in the system, while 70% is in informal, and so most of our policy don't get to achieve most of the objectives that they have been set.
Yeah, let me come in there. Let's look at some numbers now. More than 100 million Nigerians have below 500,000 naira in their bank accounts. Does this in any way mean that the positives that that you've so far outlined outweigh the negatives that people have brought forward?
Okay, now let's articulate the negatives that they have brought forward. They are mostly individual interest, not a global interest.
Okay.
People just want to take care of their own personal needs, forgetting that it is the needs of all of us that will change the entire, value chain and the system. If we all keep thinking of, okay, let me just take care of my interest. Now, let me give you a classical example. An average Nigerian does not want dollar to go up. At the same time, he's holding a dollar and he's saying, oh, I will sell when it gets to so value. So why do we continue to have this contradictory move? At the same time, we want a better economy. At the same time, we are holding dollar for it to go up.
Okay.
We operate an economy that we should lay more emphasis on Naira. We live here. We do business here. We work here. Emphasis should be on Naira. Okay. We should all do everything to make sure that Naira remains strong.
All right.
Why will we continue to render services and we want to take dollar for those services? So we are the one mounting pressure and then giving wrong interpretation to most of this policy. I will want a whole lot. We need to start looking at ways to start, viewing these policies in a way that it will bring about
Hello.
Is going about it.
Okay, please continue. Please continue. We lost you for a second there. Dr. Lushola? I think we've lost him. he was advising Nigerians to always look at policies from a more
on how this can turn our economy around and give us more positive results.
Yeah, that's a very good one. Now, let's now narrow it down to SMEs, which is one of the fields that you're proficient at. What are some of the effects, positive or negative?
Hello.
Hello, are you with me? Can you hear me? Hello, Dr. Lushola, I can hear you, but you can't.
I didn't get your last question, please.
Yes, I wanted to ask the question. I was saying now, let's get to SMEs, which is your forte. What are the effects, be it positive or negative, that these policies will have on SMEs? Dr. Lushola? I think we've lost him there. I was asking, if you can hear me, I was asking that what are some of the positives, or what are the effects, the pros and the cons, that this new policy will have on small businesses in terms of taxation, and even on larger businesses? Are you with us?
I was saying the last 30 to 35 seconds, I didn't hear anything.
All right, you can hear me now, yes?
Oh, good. It's good now.
Yeah, let me reiterate what I just said. Now, we're looking at SMEs, which is your forte. Now, we're looking at this policy. What are the pros and the cons that it holds for businesses, and also that's small businesses and even larger businesses? Did you get that?
Okay, now, thank you very much. I got that very question very clearly.
Awesome.
Now, this policy, viewing it from the perspective of the SMEs, one of the major challenges of the SMEs currently now, most of the data are not properly captured. Most of them don't have sufficient information to be able to drive their business. Most of them have governance issues. Funding is not accessible. Now look at it when you are able to now document most of your transactions. You have now been able to separate your personal transaction from that of your business.
Okay.
You are now more accountable. You are now more attractive to investor. You are now more, you can now show that you have obligations to the government. You are now able to show, that this is the volume you have done. This is the extent of your own capital that has been had.
I think we've lost him. He was explaining to us the pros that this policy will have. That's talking about accountability. It will make businesses more exposed to government, and governments can be able to track where it's necessary. If you are still with us, Dr. Lushola, I'd let you continue on that.
Okay.
Yes.
I hope you can hear me.
Yes, fantastic.
Okay, good. So, just like I mentioned earlier, this is going to bring about more transparency, and is going to be able to help a whole lot of SMEs to be able to be more accountable, and it will allow them to be able to attract the right investors and to set them business. Yeah. Being able to attract the right funding, okay, being accountable to the government, and being able.
We lost you there. Yes. So, Dr. Lushola, if you're still with us, you've mentioned. Are you with us? I think we've lost him there. He was explaining that more advantage will come into this policy. So I'll let you land on that. We lost you for some seconds there. So you were
okay
in terms of SMEs.
Okay, so let me quickly also address the possible challenges or limitations. Definitely, it's not something most SMEs have been used to. They've always mixed their funds, their personal funds, with that of companies' fund. So most times it's very difficult for most of them to be able to really determine whether they are profitable or not. But with this move, you will be able to account more whether you are profitable or not. So it's a cultural thing. It will take a bit of time for them to change, but definitely is a right step in the right direction for us to have a better economic system, and also for most of the SMEs to be able to grow and move to the next level.
Okay. Now, still on this issue of tax, All businesses are required to register for VAT and charge 7.5% on their goods and services, except those with an annual turnover of less than 25 million naira. I remember you alluding that at the beginning of the discussion. But when we look at the contribution that businesses have on the economy, won't this have any drawback?
Do we have any? I didn't get your last comment.
Okay. Looking at the contribution that businesses have on the economy and looking at the challenges that we find ourselves in terms of high inflation rate, galloping exchange rate, wouldn't this new policy have any impact on, wouldn't it have any drawbacks, major drawbacks on the role of businesses in the economy? In terms of, hello, are you with
me? Okay. Yes, I'm with you, and I get your question very clearly.
Awesome.
Most policies and actions are targeted at addressing a problem and also being able to cushion whatever effect that is currently going on in the economy. And that's why we have fiscal policy and we have monetary policy. Now, looking at tax from the fiscal policy perspective,
all right.
The value-added tax, moving it from 5% to 7.5% already has its own effect. Government needs to generate more revenue to close the deficit gap that we have. SMEs contribute majorly to all the, they are active. Most businesses in Nigeria are SMEs.
SMEs, yes.
And so getting all of them to be VAT registered is something to help government to be able to capture and get as much revenue from VAT, which currently now, if well driven and every companies embrace it, it will really, really bring a lot of good things by increasing the revenue that government will be able to generate and close the deficit gap we have in our budget.
All right.
At the same time,
no, finish. Please finish. Yes, please finish. You're about to make a point. Yes.
Yeah. Consumers on the other side are feeling the impact because it's now becoming, something that almost on every transaction and services, additional charges are coming up. Same way inflation is also going. So the overall effect is we should be able to get more or less some form of, let's see a positive response from government as they generate more revenue, more infrastructure also be provided. But, the way the whole economy is all over the world now, every economy is impacted. And, every government is putting in policies to be able to increase their revenue, at the same time, put in as much infrastructure as possible so that there will be a balance one way or the other.
Yes.
But it is something that SMEs and companies need to work alongside with government for these policies to be achieved.
All right. To put everything to a close, what happens to the 37 million Nigerians who are financially excluded? These are people whose primary source way of paying is cash due to the rigidity of the cashless system. What happens to these people? In your closing, let's have that as your closing thought.
Okay. So now you are talking about 37 million, Nigerians that are not within the banking system.
Yes.
Okay. Now, if you consider with the objective of CBN with financial inclusion and with what we've been able, Nigeria has also been able to do by licensing a lot of fintech companies, you've seen that most of this transaction, even though we might not have so much description of some of those transactions, but most of those transactions has moved to POS, to ATM levels, and gradually they will become banked. And we'll be able to have much more details for us to be able to capture. So it is all an holistic approach, which CBN needs to do a bit more of education and enlightenment, and backing by the government and relevant agencies. I believe strongly that Nigerians will be able to understand the benefit that comes with it, even though there are some few limitations and they will be able to manage it. And then it will be a better one for everyone at the end of the day as we make moves on most of these policies and look for ways to embrace it to be able to better our economy. Nigeria will be better for it in the long run.
All right. I think that's a very good place to hold that conversation. We thank you very much for sharing your thoughts with us.
You're welcome. Thank you very much.
Please do have a lovely day.
You're welcome. Thank you very much.
Now, still to come, a quick check on the external reserves data from the Central Bank of Nigeria reveals that the balance is just 37.07 billion and could fall into 36 billion range in the next few days. And we shall be assessing the impact of this on the nation's economy when we come back.